Hello, hello, everyone, and we are live. Hey, it's your man Darren M. Palmer, Chief Book Officer of Self Published in 30 Days. I'm excited to be here for the virtual book launch for Forever Athlete. We got Corey Camp in the building. Corey, say hello to the people.
There we go. Had to come off mute. What is going on? I'm so stoked to see all these beautiful faces on one screen.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Corey, for coming on. But before we come back to you, Corey, and you being the facilitator of this project, we're going to have a little round robin, so to speak, and we're going to pass it around. So just feel free. We'll start with Kim, work our way around. If you could just share your name, first, last name, and just a little bit about yourself besides the book that people might not know.
Hi, everybody. Oh, it's so good to see some faces on this project. Thank you for having me. I am a California native, soccer lover, ocean lover, and openly gay, and do a lot of presentations on LGBTQ advocacy, anti-racism work, as well as do business and athlete transition coaching for a few companies. So love all of you guys. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Kim. We're going to pass it around. Go ahead, Sarah.
So I'm happy to be here too. My name is Sarah Neal. I'm based in Louisville, Kentucky, and I am a teacher. Seems like I'm a teacher of all things these days. I coach figure skating, have coached skating for over 20 years, been in the sport as long as I can remember. I teach yoga, mostly to figure skaters and to their parents and coaches, trying to as I like to say, change the sport of figure skating one yoga practice at a time, getting people to kind of focus on their own journey instead of the competition. And I also teach Spanish at a university here in Louisville. I've taught Spanish also for as long as I can remember. And gardener, houseplant lover, and that's about it.
Awesome, Sarah. Thank you so much. Me gusta, me gusta. You didn't know your boy was bilingual. See, I can't show all these skills right now. Corey, I try to hold it in a little bit, brother, but you know how we work. Okay, we're going to pass it to Daphne.
Hi, everyone. My name is Daphne, founder of 98%. The name comes from the statistic that only 2% of collegiate athletes go pro. So what happens to the rest of the 98%? We're all part of it. As you can see, we encourage athletes to share their story because their story can inspire others coming behind them. And we provide resources to help athletes make that transition to a life after sports a lot smoother. I'm a management consultant by day. I specialize in project and program management. So I love organization to a point, and I love to travel. So just merging, everything that I've learned in my time as a management consultant and letting the world know. So.
And by the way, Daphne, I love your social media too. You was killing it. Like I said,
Thank you.
I kept saying that 98%, but I didn't realize that 98% was Daphne. So I was like, who is this on the social media? And I checked it out. I was like, oh, that's Forever Athlete. That's my people. That's my people. So great job on that. Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Erica.
Hello, I'm thrilled to be here as well. We're all just so happy to be here. What I do is I empower athletes who feel like they aren't fulfilling their potential to identify and eliminate those things that they feel are keeping them stuck so that they could show up powerfully in every single aspect of their lives. And I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. I have been for 20 plus years, and I transitioned into the coaching arena about 7 years ago at this point. I'm also the mother of a young son who's turning 3 in August, who is my dream come true, one of my dreams come true, and also an endurance athlete. So looking to get back into training again because I'm recovering from COVID right now. So can't wait to get back out there and start running again.
Awesome. Erica, if anybody can whip COVID, it's you. Like we talked about that on the last interview. Like anybody who got those type of skills, you'll be perfectly fine. COVID better duck, man, if they know that supposed to get a hold to her. We're going to pass it on over to Nikki. Thank you so much, Erica.
Hello, it's good to see everybody. I'm Nikki Kett, and like Corey, I was a former college swimmer and went into college coaching afterwards. Coached at Johns Hopkins, Penn, and then Michigan. So used to working in high pressure environments, both academically and athletically. And I considered myself a chronic overachiever. And so in leaving the collegiate coaching space, I help athletes transition from that, but also just high achieving women kind of enjoy their lives more, stop having to constantly do to be worthy or good enough, and just to be able to relax and come out of that fight or flight state that we constantly learn through athletics. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Nikki. Shout out to John Hopkins. All right. Hey, Cody, what's up, my brother? Share with the people a little bit about yourself.
What's up, y'all? Cody Allen, former collegiate football player. I now own a few companies, and the one that primarily people, I guess, associate me with is my digital marketing agency. We don't like to call ourselves a digital marketing agency, rather a business development agency. Basically, anybody or anything that wants to touch a keyboard, we help people generate, whether it be leads, traffic, sales, understanding different KPIs. And on the consulting side, I work with business professionals in the branding space. So trying to identify a brand that they can monetize in the back end. I've been in this space for about 6 years now. Love and hate every minute of it. Obviously still a fitness enthusiast. I consider myself now like a hybrid athlete, and not just strength, but also endurance. Been doing some pretty cool things in that space that should release around September. So everybody stay tuned for some documentaries that we're rolling out. But yeah, that'll be fun. I don't know if you guys follow me, you probably saw that I was in Vegas roasting my ass in the 111 degree heat all last week. But yeah, that'll be it's a very cool project that we're working on.
Awesome, brother. Awesome, brother. I said, man, he know how I feel living in Texas. Shout out to Corey. He's going to get toasted a little bit here pretty soon, man. He make it through June and August. But with that being said, I thank all of you for sharing. But I want to get into some of the nitty gritty of the whys. We know when we are, actually in sports, you got to have a why. When you look at going into business, or if you're in the corporate space, or if you're a parent, or if you're in a relationship with a significant other, all of us have to find a why, regardless of the walks of life that we might find ourselves on the path. And Corey, I want to start with you, man, because you was the facilitator on this project. And, just like we talked about when we were off air, you're about to be moving around again. So what made you, man? We know about the ice baths and all that or whatnot, but what made you want to get even crazier, man? And not only do a book, but bring a lot of wonderful, amazing human beings who are high performers and know how to get stuff done. Why bring a community together to do the book is one of the things that I think the audience would like to hear from you. If you wouldn't mind, could you share that with us, Corey?
Yes. Why not? I think is the better question. It really started through the podcast that I was hosting. I even had to rebrand it after a year or two because all the conversations I was having was with people that you see on the screen. And the more the conversation we had, it was like, I'm not the only one that's struggling with this whole transition thing, right? To Daphne's point, 98% of athletes in the collegiate space aren't going pro. So where are these stories? Where are they happening? And when I noticed, I kept having these individual conversations with the Kims, the Ericas, the Codys, the Nikkis, the Sarahs. And I thought, well, what if we put these conversations in a book, in one place that athletes could read and resonate with something in everyone's story? Now, it's not this is the magic map for the way forward by any means, but the feedback that I've gotten so far has been so cool to see someone picking something up from my story and my journey, picking up someone from Kim's story as well, and feeling like they've actually been seen and heard for the first time in what feels like forever for them. So that was really the why behind putting this project together, is I knew there was power in each of these stories, but there would be so much more power exponentially if we threw it together and put it on the confines of a book that lives now forever, which is pretty crazy to think of.
Yeah, thank you, Corey. Man, I appreciate you sharing that, and I want to pass it around for the co-authors too, as well, just to hear from you all, because we heard when you just gave your introduction, you all have things going on. So you could have found you could have used the Achilles heel excuse of, I got this, I got that. This is not the right time. This is not right season. I mean, all the things that people come up with, not only you, all of us have found ourselves in a position like that of, not getting it done, or finding a reason that the time isn't perfect. So let's just bring it around again in the order that we introduced ourselves. And I would love for you all to share your whys. Why did you join the project with Corey? So we're going to start with you, Kim, if you don't mind.
So, I believe there's just no coincidences in life, right? And in going through the process of transition from selling my company of 10 years smack into COVID and a pandemic and social isolation, and having to rebuild myself and rebrand myself as a business coach, and using my former background as a family therapist. I was trained in similar modules as Erica. She's gone a lot further than I have, because I left that field for a reason. And I was writing my other book at the time because of Taj and a few other folks. And he was like, well, why don't you talk to Corey? So Corey and I chatted, and it felt like we've known each other forever, even though we're 20 years apart. And it was like being able to share the story. As he said, he's like, God, you've never been heard before. Like, nobody knows who you are or what you've gone through or how you transitioned from all these career paths. And so for me, part of the reason for joining is being a soccer player is all about team. Why not help one another? We don't have to step on each other's toes. And I think we come from such a competitive arena that it's all about competition and this competitive cauldron of bullshit. No joke. And I love what I do, and I love my sport. And the thing that I love about it was team. And so being a part of a team and a group of people to help raise everybody's voices collectively was a huge part of why I wanted to be in the project. So thanks.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kim. And for those who are tuned in, and those who have watched the rebroadcast of this is an amazing group of people. Like, if you can't tell it, as we say down south, you don't have to have your rubber boots on. Like, you get it real. It's raw and uncut, like USDA steaks or broccoli. I don't want to harm nobody with the meat analogy, but at the same time, I think you get where I'm going with this. Whatnot. It's just authentic people who really care, who are letting you know that it's about progression over perfection. Nobody, like Corey brought up earlier, it's not like it's a magic wand for everyone, but they are taking a step. They are saying, hey, how can I get involved? How can I be an asset instead of a liability? And every one of the individuals who are here that are co-authors, not only are they sharing and empowering people through their stories, they're living it out, whether it's them teaching, whether it's their podcast, whether it's their social media, their businesses, helping others stay fit, making a change in their communities. So just shout out to this whole book, to all the authors that's a part of this particular book, and also a part of this virtual show that we're having today. And Sarah, with that being said, we got to keep it real with my girl from Louisville. We got to keep it real. So we're going to go ahead to Louisville with Sarah. Sarah, can you give us the why behind why you are a part of this project?
Well, what Kim said really resonated with me. I think, we come from such competitive backgrounds as all athletes. And I used to think that it was specifically an issue specific to figure skating. It's such an individual sport, and traditionally there is no team in skating. And so I was not really familiar with what it was like to actually work in a team. And even when you team coach, sometimes there's a lot of competition. And so that has been a struggle. But for me, my undergraduate degree is actually in writing, and I always wanted to write. And I kind of got away from that, and I had it in the back of my mind. I want to write my story. I want to write my story, because I was transitioning from coaching skating to teaching yoga and trying to figure out, reprocess, reframe my whole relationship with the sport of skating, and how I could stay in the sport and stay sane, and kind of let go of some of the baggage from just some very toxic thought processes, toxic teachings that I had grown up with and that are still pervasive in the sport. And so I just really was trying to kind of process that. And I wasn't convinced that it was the right time. Like you said, we all have things going on. I have a son as well, and I had some very ill family illness I was dealing with, and lots of things going on. But Corey reached out to me after we connected through Instagram, and it was kind of the same thing. We chatted for a long time, and it felt like we had so many similarities, and he just kind of convinced me that it was the time to take that step and put my story into paper. And for me, it was also about the catharsis. Like, it was a very cathartic experience, kind of helped me take that next step in this transition that I've been trying to work through, for myself and for my students, because I still do coach skating, right? And I'm trying to find a way to make the sport something that everyone can enjoy for the rest of their lives. And it does not have to have an expiration date. It does not have to be you compete until you're burnt out and never want to come back. There are other options that many of us my age and older never knew. So I felt like it would be a very cathartic experience, and it was. And I just really wanted to share with people that there is another way, that you can learn from the past, learn from your own traumas, learn from other people's stories, and find a new path forward. And it can be your own journey, as it should be your own journey, without comparing yourself to others. And for me, the best path to do that was through yoga. Not the way for everyone, but that was what worked for me. And so I felt like it was very important to share that.
Thanks, Sarah. And I love that part that you brought up of, it might not be meant for everybody, but you still did you. And I want those who are listening to this, your path can be different. That's not a knock. Make sure that you do you. So many people are distressed and depressed because they're trying to fit a mold or fit, a path to walk in someone else's shoes. So find that thing that works for you. Some people might think that skating and yoga doesn't go together, but Sarah saw a gulf and were able to bridge those worlds together to be able to add value to people. So don't just think that it's crazy. Don't just think like Corey. Corey saw an opportunity. Like, hey, I'm seeing a common denominator here. No matter what walk of life, this is something that's steady showing up no matter what the sport is. So for those who are there, don't just listen to this and, yeah, this is great that this is a book and it's a wonderful book. But the individuals who are participating here today, they are here because they're about impact. And so please glean from that ways that you can find ways to be unique yourself and operate in that, because that can be your secret power. So let's go with Daphne or whatnot, with the secret sauce. Come on in here, Daphne. How you doing? Go ahead and share your why if you don't mind, Queen.
Yeah, so like Kim said, there's no coincidences. I remember I met Corey COVID, I think it was on Clubhouse. Clubhouse was super popular. I think it was like December of 2020 we met. And we just kept in touch through social media, and, had a couple calls here and there. And then I don't know, 7 months later, randomly, in some summer day in July, Corey just calls me out the blue and was like, hey, there's this opportunity. I want you to share your story in this book. And I was like, I don't know. Let me call you back. So I thought about it, and I think I got back in 2 hours, and I was like, okay, sure, I'll write the book. And it was really, really write my chapter, and it was a really tight timeline. And then a week later, I told you guys I'm in management consulting. A week later, I was put on this tragic project where I was pretty much working 12 hours a day and trying to push out those pages in a matter of like 3 weeks while ramping up on a project was not, I think I probably wrote one of the crappiest chapters there ever was. I'm not even gonna lie. So speaking with the editors, they were like, you need to expand on this. And I was like, ugh, no, it's cool. And I think it's hard. It's really hard being vulnerable, right? You're not trying to give too much of yourself. And I remember like how 98% was even birthed was from an interview, my interview at my first consulting job. In the middle of that interview, I started crying as I was telling my story because I've never actually like talked about my medical retirement. And I remember my interviewer was just like, it's okay. And I was like, no, like, I don't know why I'm crying talking about my medical retirement, but like, it was part of my story. And I mean, that's what 98% was built on, was at least at the beginning, was like empowering others to share their story, because being able to share your story in an effective and meaningful way can really open up doors for you that you never knew existed, even without the skill set. I had literally no skills in, I was lying, y'all, like on my project, like on my resume, like I had no skills in project management. Like I had no, they just liked my personality, like my go-getter attitude, and that's something that we all have. And so eventually I did open up in the writing my chapters. And honestly, like, I think this was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. So I'm super appreciative to Corey for allowing me to be a part of this project, including me, because I know that we are all changing lives here, and I'm so happy to be a part of this. So
awesome. And Daphne, you brought up an interesting point, and this is something you have experienced this. And I tell people, especially me, from the lens of a publisher, it can seem salesy. And I think we talked about, me, Sarah, and Erica talked about it. But when you have that experience and you see what you just shared with us that was authentic and that was real, you can't make that up. That's the part of the process. And even having someone push you, and I want those who are listening to that to hear that. That's what professionals, that's what a great editor does. They want you to be more vulnerable. But just like Daphne, we're like, no, I'm not sharing that. I'm not letting everybody know my business. I'm not going to tell all this right now. I got to keep some things under wraps or whatnot. But that allows for you to grow. That allows for you to stretch, and just think about it. Look at the correlation, what it is for those of us who have played sports. You have to grow. You have to stretch. What you did in high school is not going to get it when you go to the collegiate level. You're going to have people, you might been the top gun, shout out Tom Cruise or whoever it may be. But at the same time, when you go into another arena, you're going to have stiff competition. Even if you make your team, when you go into competition or you in your division or whatnot, you're going to deal with people who might have a slight edge that you have to work to go to the next level. So I appreciate you being vulnerable, even with today with the book launch, of sharing it, because you could have just skipped right past that process. You could say, yeah, I did it. It was nothing. So I'm just going to pop my collar. You could have went straight in on that type of vibe. But being open for that, it allows for you. It's transferable. So for those who are watching this, it's the same thing with sports. It's the same thing with the book process. The things that you glean and you learn is not just on the court, the film, or in the pool, or on the field, or wherever you do. It's the understanding that it's transferable. So now when Daphne goes into another arena, the same thing, how she was able to stretch and be more vulnerable when it came to creating the content for the book, will allow for her to go into a relationship that way, go into another opportunity in business, because she's willing to learn and willing to grow. And so thank you for sharing that, Daphne. And we're going to move over to my girl, Erica. Erica, why don't you give us your why you participated in this project?
Well, definitely, now that we're talking about vulnerability, I'll be fully transparent. After the book was published, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Brene Brown vulnerability hangover, but mega vulnerability hangover when it was published. I was like, oh my gosh, there's nothing I can do about it now. Like, it's out there. And so I never realized that was going to be like a part of all of this. But I will say that, when something matters to you enough, you make the time for it. So, I mean, when I was transitioning away from water polo at Purdue, it was there was nowhere else to go. It wasn't an Olympic sport at the time. And I had already in my mind, like, well, I'm just going to run marathons because my mom had done one and she inspired me. Well, she can do it. I can do it. So I had like a plan, but I realized after years of kind of being a therapist and working with athletes in their relationships that there was a lot of my own emotion that I never really processed around any of it. It was just, I had a plan and I followed it. And so as Daphne was talking about vulnerability, that's something that's just bubbling up in me too, because I'm just thinking about how, you know, as athletes, oftentimes we're, you know, putting on a certain persona or face, and to our teammates, to our, you know, even to ourselves sometimes. And just one of the things that really inspired me, I think Corey just has that effect on people. He's all about creating community. And so everyone here has talked about, you know, you talk to him and then you feel like you've known him for years. That was kind of the same thing for me. And when I learned that there was going to be other authors like sharing their stories, that was really, really inspiring to me, because I thought, you know, even if someone doesn't resonate necessarily with my story, they're going to resonate with somebody. And that really is just, you know, the reason I think that we're all like doing what we do is to kind of help bridge the gap of, you know, between where people are and where they want to be. And so like eliminating some suffering. And if that could be done as easy as like reading some pages in a book, then, you know, let's do it. Let's get as much content out there as we possibly can to support people and create community, like Corey has been doing a great job of doing. So my why was really all about like wanting to put as much good out into the world and as much support for people as possible. And the way, especially being a solopreneur as a therapist for so many years before I became a coach, an opportunity to have a team, I was like, yep, sign me up.
Teamwork made the dream work, Erica. You know how it go. So yeah, definitely. I appreciate you sharing that. Nikki, can you share with us your why? Why did you join this project?
Yeah, so sorry, I think I just got kicked out, but selfishly.
You don't have to behave, Nikki. I'm gonna tell you one more time, put you in timeout. Now go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think, you know, the word cathartic has come up a lot, and selfishly, writing this chapter was that for me. Corey reached out to me almost right as I was leaving my career as a college swim coach. And, you know, I had spent all the 9 years after college in that like achievement mentality. I had 2 master's degrees. I was coaching at one of the top NCAA programs in terms of success. I had everything that society told me I should have to be successful and happy. And for a few years, just really battling the fact that I wasn't happy. I was burnt out. I was frustrated. My body was shutting down. Yeah, Kim, I'm sure you can relate to. And I think I just started questioning a lot of things, like, why do we have to always look at the future? Why does society tell us that the pursuit of happiness is more important than being happy in the moment? And I think sport, as I reflected more and more, when sport doesn't have the awareness of why we're doing it and enjoying it and having fun and having that community, having camaraderie, it becomes a very toxic, obsessive culture. And I found myself kind of in that space where I'm like, why am I doing this? And I think a lot of athletes feel stuck in that. And even the coaches in that community, it feels like so much pressure. So I think I was in the process of unwinding all of that for myself. I still definitely am. And my chapter was kind of around that. But I think that sport can be such a positive experience, and it can be healthy competition where we work together and we make each other better. But so often the pressure and the need to perform and achieve something in the future comes at a cost. And so that's kind of my message. And I think this book with this group of people was an opportunity to share that message with other people. So
awesome. And thank you, Nikki. We heard also being vulnerable And I thank you for sharing that switch up. For someone who's been furloughed, who's starting over, who are thinking that I'm this age, or, I had a divorce, or whatever the situation may be. Or those for our veterans. I've being a publisher, I've seen that too, or those who have used this as a therapeutic measure. Those who had issues or whatnot fighting PTSD have been using this as therapy for creating content, writing books, been able to serve other men and women who are serving our country bravely. And whether it's someone who's coming from domestic violence or whatever it is, just keep in mind that your pain is your product. And what I mean is a product for the world to help heal someone. They might not read something by Jeff Bezos. They might not read Oprah, but they will learn and glean from you. So don't die down or become small. Be who you were created to be and touch lives the way that you are. You'll be shocked. Lives can be helped. You can help someone not commit suicide. So I'd like to share with people when I look at this process that this is more of a ER approach. You got to know a CPR. You got to understand that you got to be capable, prepared, and ready to do whatever it takes. And those, especially in the athletic realm, you have to do, whether it's the proper nutrition, whether it's the tour days, whether it's working out, the psyche, the Mamba mentality, as of yet, what some people call it. But being able to have that focus and the dexterity to be able to withstand tough times allows for athletes to be who they are and be able to look at as champions. So also, I think when it comes to vulnerability, we have to have that same tenacity to say, hey, it's okay for me to check up on my mental health. It's okay for me to get counseling. It's okay for me to have community. I don't have to have a competition. It's collaboration over competition. So when we switch that and realize that we don't have to be against each other, but be one team, one body, many members with one body, allows for us to touch more lives. So with that being said, Cody, if you don't mind, brother, with everything that you got going on, the businesses, the fitness, and the whole thing, share with us, why did you join this project?
Yeah, I mean, we're all at different places in our lives and our careers. And for me, the whole reason why I even started putting my voice out there in regards to my prior athletic commitments, my athletic career, and how it correlates and translates over to my personal and business life now is because I feel like so many athletes that I know, and Daphne's brand is 98%, 98% of us don't make it, right? And I'd say 90% of the people who don't make it waste everything that we've learned in our athletic career. And what I mean by that is I can't tell you how many guys that I played with that it was to the league or bust. And if they didn't make it, it was a failure for them, right? And I was this guy too, right? It took me half a decade to really find myself post my college playing career. And so you don't make it to the league. And we just feel like the last 10 years of our life was kind of a waste. So many guys don't utilize, and women don't utilize, the connections that they made in their sport, number one. Number two, all of the adversity that we had faced, all of the things that we had faced as regards to challenge, in regards to successes, and in the process that got us to each of those points, we're just kind of wasting it, right? And so writing this book helped me reflect on some of the things I had faced in my life, in my athletic playing career, and how I was able to kind of gerrymander and pick things from different places and come to a realization as I was writing this that my athletic career was more fruitful to the rest of my life than I really had anticipated, or I was really even utilizing it. So this for me is a way to give back and open up to every athlete that thinks that even that one season JUCO that they played and they figured out football wasn't for them and then quit meant a lot more to the rest of their life than just that solid 3 or 4 months that they played football. To the kid that just played high school football and learned so much about himself or herself and just kind of threw it away after that, and now they're just 25 years old trying to figure out who they are. There is so much that has been learned in all of our sports as individuals, myself included, that I was just leaving on the table, and I was either subconsciously using to make myself relatively successful or not successful, or I just wasn't using. It all boils down to facing adversity, and we put ourselves to the biggest amount of stress that we could. there's so much stress that's put on athletes, whether we do it ourselves or not. And it can break, and it does break a lot of people, myself included. And so writing this book for me was my opportunity to show people that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and not only there is a light, but on the other side, you are way more well equipped than you give yourself credit for to be successful in life. So I had to kind of dig back and reach back and think of all those things that I had learned in my 10 years of playing sports.
All right, thank you so much, Cody, man. And I want to go a little bit deeper into what Cody brought up. But before we go forward, I just want to share, Corey, by you moving forward on this project, now Kim has already done it, but even out of this group or this cohort that's a part of this book, now mark my words, there's going to be so many people that will be the catalyst that will lead to that solo project. And some people already have been contemplating that solo project. Shout out to Kim, because Kim was kind of doing the double decker there and whatnot. She's like, oh yeah, I'll do this one too or whatnot. And so it was fun following her through her process of whatnot. And she was knocking it out, getting it back. Then she jumped on the co-authoring project too as well. And so 3 chapters in 1 week, that's it. She's smashing for a ration over there. And but I just want to show that these are the things that happen. Because most people are like, I don't know, I can do this. But even if you look at a person like Daphne, who's like, okay, hey, I was able to do this with the workload that I had. Now bring it on now when it comes to my solo project. So it just takes a step out, a leap forward or whatnot for people to say, okay, let me move forward. And this will be the starting place or the foundation for some great content for the people that are here. And I think Erica brought it up with Brene Brown, and just a quick Brene Brown story. I actually remember Brene Brown because she was my aunt. I had an aunt that was she's kind of like a big sister, but even though she was an aunt because she was younger than my parents. But Brene Brown was her college professor at University of Houston. And this was before she was big time. She was just like, you could go walk in during the hours or whatnot to do it. But she shared with my aunt. She just took a step. She took a step. So as I look at you all, what will be next for you all? Brene Brown didn't know she was going to be that Brene Brown. We still have the photos with us running around, my nieces and nephews running around, and she's sitting up there taking pictures with all the family and the whole night. She was just like you would have any other professor at any other university that you would see, looking at them for, college, trying to write a letter to help them get jobs and things like that. And now she has Netflix specials and things like that. And she's looking at it as like a goddess when it comes to this creating content. But I want to back that up because it can seem so far away for some of you all. But this is somebody that I watched up close who just took a step like you all have done with this book right now. You took a step and you're impacting lives, and it will lead to greater things. And I want to switch it up a little bit. And I want to start with you first, Nikki, and we're going to go the opposite direction. Can you all, because I know we have plenty of things that need to change about sports, and you all are being that change, but could you share at least 1 or 2 nuggets that have transferred from sports that you have been able to implement to go towards your success, even in difficult times? A principle, something that a coach shared with you, something that you learned. Can you share that with us? And I'm going to start with you first, Nikki, if you don't mind.
Yeah, good question. So I think resiliency, sport just taught me to keep fighting no matter what, sometimes at the detriment to self. So it's like trusting my body and listening more than just bulldozing through a lot of things. But I think, I have confidence that I could pretty much overcome anything at this point. But I think the second lesson that I learned from sport, and I learned this in my senior year, is that not everything has to be perfect. And going through injury in my senior year, or my junior to senior year, I had to let go of a lot of things in the way that I thought that I had to do things, and really focused on just deep gratitude for my coaches, the experience. I swam at Kenyon College and just had amazing coaches and amazing teammates. And instead of focusing on what I couldn't do and everything that was going wrong, really appreciating what sport brought to my life and the people that it brought to my life. And my performance was better than it was any other year. And I was training less than I had any other year. So it kind of goes along with the overachiever mentality, but really coming back to what can I be grateful for today? How can I appreciate this experience? What can I learn from the challenges that I'm having? And I think that was such an important lesson for me. And that's what made me go into wanting to be a college coach and what I'm doing now, which is more life and mindset coaching.
Wow. For those of you who think gratitude doesn't have anything to do with your productivity, you just heard it from Nikki that it does. You'll be shocked how you can improve by having an attitude of gratitude. It's not just woo-woo, it actually works. So thank you so much, Nikki. Erica, we're going to pass it to you. What is something that you took, a principle, nugget? What did you take from sports that transferred?
Well, a lesson that I have to continue to remind myself about kind of staying in check with is that difference between pushing through something and like just kind of pushing, but not force, So like there's a really fine line, I think, for me in terms of kind of a foot on the gas, too long, too hard. And I think you can see it a lot quicker in sports. Like I know if I'm overtraining, but like how that translates to kind of what I'm doing in my business or how I'm living my life or how I'm structuring my day. Or, there are many days where I'm looking and I haven't given myself a lunch break. So it's like things like that, like, hey, you know what? Take your foot off the gas. So I think that's one of the most valuable lessons. And that's something that I have to continue to work with myself around. I actually just set in my intentions yesterday that I was going to plug in little flow breaks. So even like 5 minutes and just like plug them in where I'm either listening to a song or like hugging my son or going outside for a quick walk or doing something that just like switches up the energy a little bit. Because I think the old version of me could just go into the grind. And I know that that's not useful for me to stay in that place. I definitely can accomplish goals in certain arenas with that, but it doesn't serve long term. And the other thing that I would say that is a huge tool that I speak to in my chapter is in high school swimming. I had an amazing coach who taught me the power of visualization. And I had no idea the impact that this was going to have on my life later. But I swear I worked with this visioning technology to manifest my son at the age of 46, and like just walking through it, feeling it, like for my sport, I would remember like every moment of backstroke, it was like I was on the blocks and then like every second of it I had down and I would lay in my bed at night and just rehearse and like realizing that I could do that with goals and dreams, like blew my mind. So that's another huge tool that I think that sport has given me. And I'm so grateful to my coach in high school for opening the door to that because I had no idea how it was going to translate to the rest of my life.
Okay. Y'all giving the game away. Hey, this is a free conference here, people. I know I was hyping you up, telling you about the attitude of gratitude. Now we're going to envisioning, feeling the process, manifesting it in your lives. It's not make-believe, people. Just try it. Try it for yourself. You'll be shocked. A lot of the anxiety that you have, you can take that down. You can take that down a some notches or whatnot. And so thank you so much, Erica, for sharing that. Daphne, if you don't mind, could you share with us some of the things that you picked up, whether it's 1 or 2 tips or a philosophy or even a principle from sports?
Yeah, I think the biggest one for me is like can't is still not in my dictionary like at all. And I say this because as an athlete, like we have this mentality that we can do anything, right? And so if somebody tells you you can't make it to the state championships, or you can't make it to college sports, or you can't make it to NCAAs, like our mind is like, yeah, we can. And we try and prove them wrong. And one thing's for sure is that not everybody's path is going to lead to an NCAA championship or a state championship, right? And I think carrying that I can't attitude, or I can attitude, is very important when you are making those transitions in life. So I graduated with a degree in sociology. My GPA was not above a 3.0, and yet I was able to actually like make something of myself, and that was because I had that can do that attitude. So when I moved to Seattle, I was surrounded by a bunch of like Black excellence. Like these are people who weren't even athletes. They went to HBCUs, not to put down HBCUs, but like compared to even like UCLA, like they were given all these opportunities to work at Microsoft and Zillow and Amazon. And I'm sitting here like, how did y'all get this? So I'm asking them many, many questions like, what can I do to be better? Or like, what can I do to get this opportunity? Or like, what can I do? And so I'm asking these questions, and they're giving me the answers. And I'm like, I know I can do this. And to be able to sit here, sitting at this round table today, sharing with you guys that like I'm a manager at a consulting firm at 27 years old, and managing clients, and I have mentees, and I'm handling, hundreds and thousands of dollars of work. And that's just on the client side, and be able to start my own business on my own platform, and really just show the world that like even if not everybody's path is the same, but you can still carry that can-do attitude and understand that like, okay, well, I didn't reach this goal. What is it? What is the why? And where is my next step forward, right? And showing, like Erica said, like showing that gratitude, or I was it Nikki, showing that gratitude, and understanding that like you are content in whatever space that you're in, and visualizing like what is that next step forward, and finding that can be tricky, but I think keeping that can-do attitude will surpass any demotivation you might have.
I love it. I love it. You can do it. You can do it. Definitely. I got a secret too. I have that. I gotta watch it. Even with me being a dad now. Like if you wanted to say something and it comes out, so y'all pray for me, because I'm just like I can't do that. I can't, and it's in a positive way, but just when you just naturally just quit, and you hadn't even tried, like you hadn't even looked for it in the cabinet. Like, I can't find it. Like it's right there, bro. You can find it now. Just talk, especially my 6-year-old. He's the one who runs the house, so I got to make sure I keep him in line or whatnot. But at the same time, I love that I can, and I believe that regardless of your gender, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of where you come from the socioeconomic ladder, wherever you are, I think that will improve lives. Whether it's a relationship you're into, if it's coming back from an injury, and you all brought up a little bit earlier too about especially what we went through with the pandemic situation, and really in the heart of it in 2020 and 2021. It's a lot of people who are still finding their footing right now. It's new normal. They still haven't been called back, or they're on a whole new path right now. So I think if somebody who's listening to this can understand that, you can learn something different. You might not want to learn something different, but you can do it. And then the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And so thank you so much, Daphne, for sharing that. Now, Sarah, what are the takeaways or something positive that you took from sports? Because I know you got your first share of what not to do, but we want to pass some on positive that you learned or gleaned that was great for you.
I think the first thing is to just show up. I think, and I see that a lot with my students of Spanish at the university. If they just show up to class, they're already leagues ahead of those that don't show up, right? If you just show up to practice every day, then you're miles ahead of the kids that don't show up, right? You don't have to show up, meet perfect. You don't always have to give 110%, but just showing up is a huge, huge part of success in any arena, right? And one of the other things besides the perseverance that all athletes know, right, I think is that skating is a performance sport. And so the thing that jumps out at me is that we always were told the show must go on, right? And that has a couple different things to it. One, it can be that you have to, if a disaster happens, you have to regroup and keep moving, right? I was artistic director of our Nutcracker on Ice for 18 years. And the only year that I actually missed the show is because I had surgery. And I prepared the whole show, but I wasn't able to actually be there the weekend of our 4 performances. And and that year the curtain fell down in the middle of one of the performances. Right. And so I heard all these jokes afterwards about it. Right. But in the middle of the show, then, everyone comes from backstage and they start putting the curtain back up, and the kids just kept skating, and so you just, life is like that. Like, no matter what is thrown at us, like, it just keeps going on. If you've ever lost a loved one, you realize that, like, the whole world keeps moving. There was a really nice article in the New York Times a few months ago. It was someone that wrote an essay about a poem they came across, and the poem was about a painting, right? And the painting was something about the fall of Icarus. And if you didn't notice, you just saw all these scenes of daily life, right? People marching on, plowing the field, boats sailing, dogs playing. And then there's in the bottom an itty bitty image of feet popping up out of the water where Icarus had fallen from the sky, right? And so if you didn't really even know what happened, you wouldn't know this huge, story and how life just marches on, and I think that that's one thing that skating definitely taught me, is that, even if I choose to leave the sport's going to keep going. It's not the end of the world, right? I can find my own way, and others will find their way, and we can regroup, start over, whatever, change course, however. So I think that's another really important thing. And the third thing for me is, I think, just how big of an impact we can make. I've been coaching for a really long time, mostly kids, but also adults. But I've wanted to be a coach from the time that I was about 7 years old, right? And that was simply from the fact that the coaches that I had made an impact on me, right? And I think just, if you knowing that is what keeps me going into the rink every single day, even on days that I don't want to go, even when I'm tired or I don't, knowing that there is some person who is looking forward to that time with me, right? And looking forward to enjoying our lesson, learning from me, or just maybe they need someone to talk to about their day at school. Maybe they had a hard day at home and they want to come to me and have me be the ear, So knowing the impact that you can have on anyone, not just on your students, is, I think, something that's really stuck with me as well.
Come on now, Sarah. Come on with the wordplay. Thank you so much, sister. I really appreciate that. And that showing up, whether it's showing up for yourself, because it's tough to pour from an empty cup. For your family, friends, and loved ones, the direct influence of your household into your community. Each one reach one, each one teach one. So just keep that perspective in mind, that you matter regardless if you think you matter or not. You're impacting someone. You just want to make sure that you are the deciding factor of which way are you impacting them. Are you impacting them negatively, or in a negative way, or in a positive way? So there's no purgatory when it comes to the way that you're touching people. It's either negative or positive. So just keep that in mind. Thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing that. And Kim, if you don't mind, what are takeaways for you for your time in sports?
Goodness, learning life lessons from my colleagues as usual. I think one of the things for me is I've had so many different chapters in my life after after collegiate sports. And I think I've shared this with Corey because of doing podcasts with him, but I never thought I was an elite athlete. I was competing against the best of the best. And I was never on the national team, and I had not made those teams. And that my teammates and friends that I played against and with were the ones on the national team winning the championships. So I've always kind of walked with a sense of comparison in a way that was not healthy in many ways. And so I think one of the things that learning that comparison is the thief of joy, right? And being able to acknowledge, Corey knows this too, I cry almost every single podcast about something, so just deal with it, y'all. Being who I am is 100% the reason why I'm successful. If I lived in the closet, if I didn't talk about it, if I didn't take the time to go deep or go home, I wouldn't be me. So recognizing that you're powerful beyond measure and that your impact matters. And again, I'm not afraid of sharing because it's a very difficult thing to do, to live out in the open in a very dangerous time and place at times. And to be able to share my story was powerful and life altering. So I want people to continue to do that. So share. Just share. Because it matters. And the other thing is take life by the horns. Like, change is going to happen. You're going to hang up your boots. You're going to hang up your cleats. You're going to hang up your swim shorts. You're going to hang them up. And being able to recognize the power of other things you enjoy. My God, I love reading. I love writing. I love going to museums. I love cooking. I love sharing different things with people that I love. And if you don't recognize that you have to have an exit strategy, that your life doesn't have to revolve around what you do, it's not who you are. And what you do for a living is going to change, and how you step into your different chapters matters. And I've been a soccer coach, I've been a therapist, I've been a bartender. I love learning, I love growing, and I think that we need to step into being a beginner again and get excited about doing something new and channel that kiddo way back when you first started playing your sport, and how that can glean into something else. I built my business solely on soccer principles. I'd never taken a business class before, and I built a business from scratch and scaled it and sold it in 10 years. I would have never known how to do that if I didn't play the sport. And so taking those skills from sport to translate into every other chapter of your life has mattered. So it's not just about being out and open. It's about taking all those skills. And Daphne, you talk about, I didn't have any skills. Oh, hell yeah, you did. They call them soft skills. Corporate America goes after us all the time because we knew we have skills that they can't teach. They just glean from us. So we also have to be very careful in the environments that we're in if we're just being taken for our skills that we do come to the table with. And I think that recognizing and stepping into that power is really, really important. So be the change you want to see, live your life out loud, and go after it.
All right, now Kim, I'm gonna get on you, girl. You got my mascara dripping, girl. Don't do me like that. I got my face beat for this interview, and then you gonna do me like that? We're gonna have to talk offline, sister. We're gonna have to talk offline. But that was real. That was real when you shared it. I thank you so much, Kim, for sharing it. And I love that the portion of that, of knowing that what you do doesn't identify you. You're so much more. But so many people, they don't know how to view themselves. And if you don't think that this is true in everyday life, we have seen it even recently with some who have even taken their lives because they were up in the crypto market and things crashed. And unfortunately, some identified themselves with the wave with crypto. So they didn't even give themselves the time for it to go back up because they identify so closely to one area and not like, well, you were doing things before crypto showed up. Like, so you can do something else, ride the roller coaster ride or whatnot. Don't give up. So thank you so much, Kim, for that. And, Corey, what about you, brother? What are some things that you have, learned, gleaned, or transferables from your time in sports that you're utilizing to this day?
All of it. but I don't want to sit here and echo. I mean, I could echo everything that everyone has said. It all resonates. But something that came to mind actually was a story of my sophomore year. It had been around for a couple of years. There's a specific kind of turn in the IM race in swimming called a bucket turn or a crossover turn. And I was really hesitant to adapt it because at that point I'd been swimming for Lord knows how long. And I was like, no, I'm good. I'm good. Like, I don't need to do this. Well, there's one practice where I missed the team practice because of a conflict of school or whatever. And my coach had me go to the age group team practice, which is like the 14 and unders. And I'm going to their practice and they're working on bucket turns. And I just kind of roll my eyes. I'm like, what do I have to, like, why am I should be training my butt off. I don't need to stop and learn a bucket turn right now. And to my surprise, these 14-year-olds taught me how to bucket turn in like 10 minutes. And then it went on to be like one of the best skill sets that I had in my arsenal then moving forward. And that whole thing was about, I can learn something from everyone and anyone. And at no point should I ever go into a situation or room with my head so big that I can't learn from someone else. It doesn't matter what age they are, how fast they are, or their background. Someone can teach you something that you don't know if you're open to it, and it will help you in the long run. And that's one of the things that I've really carried with me. The other thing too is just have fun with it. Learn something new and play a good game. If you see it all the time, I've had a blast in these past 2 weeks. I thought of this weekend. I learned how to play golf, and I stand-up paddleboarded for the first time ever in my life in like back-to-back days. I was like, this is so much fun. I never want to lose sight of this. I want to continually seek out new things and surround myself in those new environments and just keep learning. That's my best advice to people, is just stay curious, learn something, and you'll never know what happens.
Awesome. Thank you, Corey. And I love that part, what you brought up, that you can learn something from anybody. That's the thing about the greats. You can pick up if you don't have an ear to listen to your clients or to listen to staff or to listen to those around you, your peer group, then you will miss out on amazing opportunities. I even look at what we're doing here with the company, that this wasn't even my idea. It was somebody else that kept sharing something like, hey man, you ought to do this. Hey, you know what? I need help with this. And I'm like, man, really, here's a course so you can really stay out of my face, because I got all these other things that I thought up that I should be doing, and something that wasn't even my idea. Just think about all the other things that have spun out of ideas of other people. That was somebody else's idea. And if they would have been hard-headed, or if they would have got caught up on that, I got to stick to this 5 and 10-year plan that I created. What do? You have to be able to pivot. So thank you, Corey, for sharing that, man. That's very important. And before we go, I want to just have an opportunity for you all to just share where people can connect with you, especially with a co-authoring project. Those who are in the spirit of your influence, they can purchase the book from you to be able to get an autographed copy of it, or whatever, additional things that you want to share. But I want you to share ways that people can find you on social media and connect with you for more of your services. So let's go around. I'm going to start with Cody. Cody, let's start with you, brother. How can people connect with you and find out more about you?
Yeah, for me, it's pretty streamlined across the board. It's just the Cody Allen on all social channels. And then thecodyallen.com. We're constantly putting out articles for the health and wellness space, but more importantly, for people trying to make their way in the business space and how health and wellness correlates to, I guess, productivity and efficiency. Productivity and efficiency are massive in today's day and age. So the Cody Allen, find me on all of them.
Okay. Also, Cody, you're the one who kind of led into that why question. You kind of shared it, but did you have any additional tips that you wanted to share? I know you brought it up while you wrote the book, some of the things that you had learned from sports. Did you have any takeaways that you want to leave with us before we close it out?
Yeah, as it pertains to the last question, like what I learned from sports, I was a defensive guy, right? And so very frequently in football, you hear bend, don't break when you play on the defensive side of the ball. And essentially what that means is you can give up yards each and every play just as long as you don't let someone score on you, right? And I think that rings true in every aspect of your professional life, your personal life, whether it be on a business that you're trying to start, right? We've all tried to start a business here, and we've had so many setbacks where we didn't give up. Whether it be in a personal or relationship, things don't always go right, but as long as you don't give up, as long as you don't just give into whatever is pushing you towards having your back at the end zone. And so out of all the things that I've learned from sports is that you have to have that bend, don't break mentality. Because you never know. I mean, we've all seen the memes and the pictures of the guy that was digging for diamonds and stopped this close to having the diamond on the other side of the dirt, right? So there's always going to be a breakthrough as long as you don't give up. Something will give. And in the event that you do get scored on, in the event that something does happen that seems like a turning point, shake yourself off, you dust yourself off, and you just go to the next play and you have another opportunity. So yeah, that'd be my biggest thing, is just having that bend, don't break mentality as it pertains to all things in life.
Man, Cody, shout out to Kim for allowing for me to come back to that. That bend, don't break. Whoo, I can't tell you how many times that I've used that, whether it's not knowing how you're going to make it, payroll, chargebacks, deals don't go right, business partners, relationships. Oh my good, COVID, events that you have, that bend don't break mentality. Man, you knocked it out the park with that one, brother. Thank you so much, man, for that. So let's go ahead and pass it around. So if you don't mind, Nikki, let's go with you next. How can people connect with you and how can they find you?
So mine's pretty simple too. I spend most of my time on Instagram in terms of connecting. So it's Nikki Kett Coaching. So just my name with coaching after it. And that is also my email as well. I'm hilarious. Oh no, what am I doing? That's so funny. You'll have to come check it out. I'm not sure. Maybe I didn't think I was funny, but apparently I am. So you can come hang out with me on Instagram. And yeah, I do bi-weekly breathwork sessions for free. And that's another way to just connect. So thank you, Kim.
Awesome, Nikki. Just followed you, sister. Just followed you.
Awesome. I'll give you a follow back.
Okay, cool. Let's go with Erica now.
So mine isn't as streamlined. I do hang out on Instagram quite a bit, and it's just at Erica Faye. So that's super simple. It's just my name. And then my website is Maximum Achievement Coaching. But I would say all the updated info, events, content, all that kind of stuff is on Instagram. So I like to put out some valuable content at least once a week. So if you're looking for some info, you can go there.
Awesome. Thank you, Erica. All right, Miss Daphne, how can they connect with you?
Hi, so you can connect with me on 98%.com or 98% Instagram. We have a Twitter, but it's not that live. But the website is pretty extensive. You could find all kinds of resources there, as well as like career coaching services. And then, am I missing? Oh, I'm also on LinkedIn as well. So definitely find me at 98%.com or 98%. And then my name as well. You can connect with me. So.
All right, Daphne, thank you so much, Queen. All right, Miss Sarah, how can they find you?
So I do a weekly blog post on different topics like well-being in sports, life after competition, embodied practices like yoga, mindfulness, meditation, breath work, and other kind of mindful living topics that can help people bridge that gap between being all in the sport and having a great life outside of competition, right? And so that's at theskatingyogi.com. I do hang out a little bit on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, but mostly just to share my blog posts and other offerings that I have. So my website is theskatingyogi.com, and on social it's theskatingyogi. Instagram is _ in between those. So that's how you can find me.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, we're going to pass it to Kim. Kim, how can they find you?
So I spend most of my time on LinkedIn. You can find me at Kim Brady, basically, on LinkedIn. My website has all the book information for both of the books and the events that I'm doing, etc. For example, I'm doing an event tomorrow through Career Learning, talking about LGBTQ, making safe spaces for kids. At the end of the month, I'm doing a suicide prevention workshop for athletes, for coaches, parents, mentors, things like that. So people can find all that on my website, KimBradyBusinessCoaching.com, and on Instagram and Facebook, it's Coach KB15.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim. Kim, Corey, how can they find you, my brother?
I'm on Instagram at Corey Camp, no E in my name, and then TikTok, Forever Athlete, and website's forever-athlete.com. We got in-person events, all that fun stuff, and just continuing to build this community of people like this, offering in-person opportunities for people to come together, starting in 5 cities this month, which is super exciting. I'm growing from there.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations to all of you who are a part of this. For those who weren't able to make it, we want to send a shout out to you as well. We know that everyone couldn't make it because of scheduling conflicts, but I want to have this parting, just treat it like parting piece of advice. But I want to hear, for someone who's straddling the fence and thinking about being an author or being a co-author, could you share with them, was it a good experience and why they should share their story with the world? So we've heard time, we've heard kids, we've heard careers, we've heard so many things, conflict in scheduling, being overworked, as Ms. Daphne was talked about, but still pushing through, even dealing with vulnerabilities. So could you share a testimonial to somebody who's straddling the fence about sharing their story with the world? So could you share, was this a good experience and would you recommend it to anybody else? So whoever want to go first, just go.
So I'd say absolutely for 2 reasons. One, because I truly believe that writing helps you process things. And if you are still trying to come to terms with your athletic journey or what you can learn from your athletic journey, or how you can reframe that into who you are now and take the positives from that and learn from the negatives, then writing can be a big part of that. For me, it's been instrumental throughout my entire life. And then 2, you just never know who your story might help and in what way.
Thanks, Sarah. Anybody else? Testimonial of, go ahead.
I have to give you guys props, because without Taj, I wouldn't have written both books. So through the pandemic, it was the transition piece that was really brutal for me. And when I was talking and connecting with Taj, he was like, "Why the hell have you not written your book?" And I was like, "You're about 6 people deep that keeps telling me I need to do this. And I have all this time on my hands now, and the world is shut down. Why not?" And so then when you got me connected with Corey, to be able to be, again, seeking that team piece of it, to not only writing out my story, being able to teach others, but being surrounded by other people going through the process was really powerful. And I also believe in doing that which you preach. So I've hired business coaches to help me through processes. I always have when I built my other company. So do the thing and why talk. And that also is the athlete piece too. So be yourself, and definitely had a great experience doing it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kim. Do we have anybody else? Testimonial. Would you recommend anybody else share their story with the world? Okay. Did I lose Erica? I guess I lost Erica. Okay. I know she was having any issues. But if we don't have anybody else, okay, there Erica is. Okay, Erica, we got you back.
Sorry, having internet connection issues.
No problem. We were just about to end. We're giving everyone an opportunity if they wanted to share a testimonial. Would they recommend someone else be a co-author or being an author and share their story with the world. Did you have any take on that, Erica?
I'd say, you know, if you have the desire to share your story and impact people, that's a great way to do it. You can get your message out there, and you might not even know how many lives that you can impact.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And the reason I brought that up and for people to hear it is so many do have a desire, but the inferiority complex shows up. Who am I to write a book? You know, I'm just a jock. Who am I? I'm a mom. Who want to hear from me? I'm not big time. You know, that negative thinking and negative self-talk has actually just hindered so many people from sharing it. So I thank you all for sharing it, because it's actually empowering somebody right now that are thinking like, okay, hey, I can relate to these people. They're speaking my language. And now I can move forward on this instead of having that journal full of notes and never using it, or having USB drives full of content but never getting it out. Or like Kim brought up earlier, you know, you don't even have the excuse of saying that you don't have the time. You do have the time, but you've just chosen, because the inferiority complex or negative self-talk, to keep you from going forward with that dream that you've had of sharing that book or whatnot, or getting that story out there. So do we have anybody else before I close it out? Anybody else? All right. Okay. Other than that, Corey, man, do you have any last words that you want to share with the people, man? Great job on facilitating this project. Amazing group of people, extraordinary group of people. Any last words before we close it out?
I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you guys that are here and those who aren't here. This project doesn't exist without you guys taking the step and believing in this vision. So it's not just my vision, it's all of our visions. And I just appreciate you guys taking the step. You know, there was ups and downs throughout it, but we got through it and we're here. So I appreciate you all. And I can't wait to hopefully see you all in person soon. Nikki, I'm flying out your way tomorrow morning at 5:15 a.m. So hopefully I'll see you.
Nice. Come
I'll
hit
shoot
me
you a
up. I'll
text.
come find you.
Awesome. Thank all of you for showing up. Thank for those who have been in attendance, those who are watching the rebroadcast of this too as well. This has been a pleasure. Your man, Darren M. Palmer, self-published in 30 days. I also want to send out a shout out. He's been busy. He's getting hitched or whatnot. Taj, he got a lot of wedding duties. He got the husband duties or whatnot that he got going on. He's getting the understanding of what it is. And so we want to send a shout out to Taj Deshawn, Vice President of Self-Published 30 Days. Amazing guy who connected with Corey and a lot of you all. And Taj is an amazing guy. And so, you know, the vibrations, you know, the law of attraction, attracting great human beings together. And so here we all are here. So I want to give a shout out to Taj too before we close it out. Until next time, remember that this is the year for your new book. Be blessed and have a great one.